survived that fucking Arctic vortex, Jason.
I'm alive.
Yeah, it was looking like a Hoth over
It
here.
was me and Keith David sitting around the campfire.
Uh-huh.
So let's just wait here for a while, see what happens.
Okay, trying to figure out which one of you had the thing.
Yeah, it wasn't him.
It wasn't him. It was
Nope.
you're the thing.
I'm the thing.
So what am I? Chopped liver over here? You're not going to infect me with the thing? Your head hasn't
You
come
want
off
it?
at all.
You you want it?
I don't know. I mean, I don't. Maybe
give it to you.
It looks horrifying, but maybe when you're infected with the thing, it's just like a constant alien orgasm the entire time.
You kind of look like Wilford Brimley.
I could be. I need to. You remember that Halloween where I sprayed all that white in my beard?
That's
and stuff?
right.
I could be Wilford Brimley.
More convincing Wilford Brimley than the most interesting man alive.
Oh man.
Oh.
I gotta be knocking at my self-esteem like that.
You got the beatus?
The diabetes. Welcome everybody to the Rage Select podcast. Jason, you're here again.
Yeah.
We actually had a little bit of a Kevin can't record during the weekdays anymore.
That bitch.
And I've just been having a hard time getting a weekend because my weekends are generally fueled by Lone Star and self-loathing.
Yes.
So, when you wake up at 2:30 in the afternoon on Sunday and, drag yourself into the clothes that are still covered in Jägermeister from last night, you don't really
You're
feel
doing it wrong if it's on your clothes.
well, eventually you start missing. It's like an airplane, right? You get a drinking problem. But you know what?
Go ahead.
I wanted to actually talk about the Arctic vortex.
Okay.
Because your wife actually posted on Facebook this article that I think ran on like Gizmodo or something like that. That was
All right.
about like why Atlanta got hit so hard. Or was it Atlanta? Right, it was
Atlanta,
Atlanta.
yeah.
And it was a combination of like, they said early in the day that it wasn't going to be that bad, and then it turned really bad. So people were
Right.
trapped at work, trapped at school,
Trapped on the highway?
trapped on the highway.
A friend of mine, his sister, had to sleep in her car, like on the side of the road or something
like
crazy
it was
like
fucking the road, like
Yeah.
it was the apocalypse or something.
Yeah.
But it was funny because
I'm stuck in. If I'm stuck in traffic for more than 6 hours,
Yeah.
it's just like time to start looting.
oh really?
I just-
You're going
yeah.
full on cannibal.
I just turn it Road Warrior.
Okay.
That switch gets flipped, and I declare myself ruler of exit 313.
You just cut a strip out of your cardigan there and put the holes in it and stand on top of your car and say, "Just walk away."
Yes. This highway belongs to me. I claim it in the name of Raid Select. Bring me burritos and your women.
You find somebody in their car who went through the Taco Bell drive-thru on the way home, and then you just bash in the window and start looting.
I couldn't control myself.
Yeah.
I mean, like, is that an enchilada you have in there? Open the fucking door.
But what was funny was that they had this reasonably written article about like, Atlanta doesn't spend a lot of money on like salts and snow plows and
Why
stuff like
would
this.
they?
Why would they? This happens once every 10 years.
Yeah.
And being that it was on Gizmodo, it was a lesson in how shitty people on the internet are, because the
Oh, yeah.
comments were just like, "Well, I'm from the north, you dumb fucking. We drive on snow all the time, so you dumb rednecks don't blah blah
Yep.
blah."
Yeah. Why don't you come down here in the middle of August and just sit outside on a patio? We'll sip margaritas, and you will pray for death while I'm getting drunk in
I mean,
115 degrees.
Some people will even say that, like, because there are places in this world that people shouldn't live where it is like 100 degrees in the summer and it snows all winter time.
Yeah.
So they'll be like, "Well, it's hot here too." But more than that, it's just like, are you really? I mean, like, there's shitty I'm sure there are shitty drivers. I've seen the videos online of people in New York who can't drive on ice.
Yeah.
Who are just smashing into every car down, like, sliding down a hill or whatever.
Yeah.
All it takes
we
is
don't have any public transportation here. We can't hop on the subway.
Oh, we got the bus. This shitty
Which
bus.
we're running into things.
Right. But I don't know. It was just like, Jesus, internet, get some. I mean, maybe this is a call to insanity on my part, but it was like, you guys have just a little bit of compassion for other people that, don't drive on the snow all the time.
And everyone thinks that, south of the Mason-Dixon line, that they're functionally retarded.
Right.
Et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
Why? Fine.
Like everybody down there was just like, derp, ice. I don't know, go to school. Ice is water, and water is good.
So, Allison had a bit of a nomadic life where she lived in like New Mexico and New York and all that. South Texas, Austin, Dallas.
Ugh.
So not a lot of places, but more than me.
Right.
A much larger variety than I've ever lived. the most racist people she ever encountered were in Buffalo, New York.
Really?
Yeah.
Like just
like the Lithuanians hated the Latvians, and the Latvians hated the Spaniards or whatever. And
like weird,
everybody hated the Puerto Ricans.
Weird racism that we don't really even know. I mean,
yeah.
I don't. Yeah, it'd be like it would be like me going out and being like, I am not going to hang out with you anymore, you dumb Irish Mick. Like,
I know.
Like at this point, I don't know. Plus, I'm a child of the '90s. We were taught, don't hate anybody.
But yeah, and everyone up there thought that Allison was the racist because she sounded like she was from South Texas. Meanwhile, out of the other side of their mouth, they're like, those goddamn Portuguese.
What has Portugal ever done?
Just weird shit like
Esperanto. They're really down on Esperanto or whatever. Damn it, man! You just dumping beer all up.
Just a little bit.
The red couch in the Rage Select studio is going to be like 40% beer by the end of the year. I
don't
think.
Know how many I've had. This is like 5, I think.
Yeah, something. I thought it was more like 4. But
okay, maybe it's 4.
Yeah. So I was reading those comments, and then I had to remind myself, like, no,
forget it, Jake.
Yeah,
it's the internet.
It's the internet. I don't know. I've often maintained these fantasies, Jason, of trying to build a subculture on the internet that is exclusively devoted to having some fucking manners when it comes to opening your goddamn mouth online.
I think I think many of the people listening to this,
they have some fucking manners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We got a lot of, we have a small amount of people that post out of all the people that listen to us, which is not huge by any stretch of the imagination. But our followers are loyal and cool.
Yeah, in general.
Good folks.
Yeah.
You know?
I've actually I've been thinking a lot about that, about the idea of being crappy with people on the internet recently, and I don't know. We seem to get a lot more of it back now. And you know what? If you go to our YouTube page, there's still plenty of anonymous people on YouTube that are just like,
not many.
Blah, blah.
I've seen worse.
Yeah?
You know?
Well, just go to Spartacus. Spartacus. It's the landing ground.
Whatever.
Every so often I'll get a notification in my email saying like somebody commented on Spartacus, and it's just one more person being like, you don't know anything about Spartacus.
Nope. It's like, well, you watched it. Joke's on you, asshole.
Oh, man. Well, I tell you what, we've got a lot of news to go through today, so let's get started with my favorite piece of news and work from there, which is this trailer for Shadow of Mordor that came out.
Oh, the Assassin's Creed expansion.
Yes. Well, if they're gonna No, you don't want. Do you not think this looks cool?
I think this looks amazing.
I think it looks
doesn't
really good.
Look very original at all.
Yeah.
Which fine, great. Yeah, take the formula that other people have maybe not perfected but done very well with, and put it into new settings. I'm okay with that.
If you're gonna steal from the best.
There you go.
That's what Darksiders taught me was. Like, it's fine. Like, OG Darksiders had a fucking portal gun in it. like the blue and orange portals. I'm pretty sure they were blue and orange portals like in Portal. But no, for those of you who haven't seen this, you should go pause this and watch the trailer. But the only thing I wonder about, I haven't read like a super huge amount of exactly what's going on, because I like to leave a little bit to the imagination, but it's like a single ranger and all his dudes got wiped out, and now he's hooked up with one of those like asshole ghost guys from Return of the King.
Yeah.
And he's just going out there like, it's like Hitman meets Assassin's Creed set in the world of Mordor.
And it's, if you look at it and you're even passingly familiar with Assassin's Creed, it's just shameless.
Well,
I mean, one of the guys from Ubisoft flat out accused them of lifting code from Assassin's Creed.
But what? Like the combat?
And the magical vision, the way you climb walls and stuff like that.
None of that shit is original to Assassin's Creed.
Motherfucker, tell me you didn't watch that and go, God damn, this is Assassin's Creed. Tell me that with a straight face.
I looked at some of that, but let's be clear here. Like, the combat system of Assassin's Creed, I need to look this up because I was wondering about this earlier. Like, Batman Arkham Asylum had a different vision mode and that same style of combat.
All right.
It's like Assassin's Creed, you know what? Tell me that after Call of Duty 4 came out that, like, where was the colossal bitching online that every single game had a prestiging level up?
Well, you clearly
unlock
didn't
system.
read my live journal because it was there.
You were on live. What's a live journal? Is that
it's an ancient artifact.
Is that like MySpace?
Did you Friendster?
Was that connected to your MySpace account?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I mean you watch it and God damn, they are just hardcore ripping off Assassin's Creed. Hardcore.
I don't know. Dude didn't have a hood, right? I mean, did he?
Yeah.
Did he?
He had a hood.
Okay. Let's see.
He was wearing a cloak.
2009, 2007. Okay, so Assassin's Creed did come out first, but I just don't think that like the.
I don't care. I'm going to play it. It looks like the tits.
It's got a. I mean, the other thing about Assassin's Creed is that Assassin's Creed has had. Okay, there's going to be people who are going to try to get at me about the nitty gritty of this statement, but I don't give a fuck. Assassin's Creed, the combat in Assassin's Creed is my least favorite part of the entire fucking series. Also, I'm going to say this as well. The climbing in Assassin's Creed has also gotten pretty goddamn boring after 7 games. No. Okay.
No.
You just flat out.
It's incorrect.
Okay. You were Jeff is wrong.
Jeff is wrong.
Okay.
It happens.
I mean, I don't know. I just, after climbing up a building for the fucking gazillionth time.
I love it.
Yeah?
Yeah. It reminds me back when I was doing parkour professionally.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Were you with those French dudes?
Yep.
When you made it up? Were you the founder of parkour? You made it up originally?
Not officially.
Yeah.
I contributed a lot.
Okay.
At the ground level.
I don't know. I mean, I think that at this point in gaming, ripping off mechanics from other people, I mean, unless it's like a blatant copy, I still think
you mean like this, the blatant copy like this new Shadows of Mordor or whatever the hell they're called.
It's adding things to the equation.
It is.
It's definitely adding things.
It is, but if you look at it, it's just, oh, damn. That...
Well, plus, it's only one gameplay
It looks
video.
like a mod.
I don't
I think it looks amazing. I'm excited about it. I don't care.
Yeah.
But
I guess maybe that's
let's
where
call
I'm
it
coming
what
from.
it is.
Okay. I don't know. I like the only thing that worries me about it is that they talked so much in that trailer about this whole as you interact with these enemies, they will develop their own story based on if you fought them before and stuff.
That could be interesting.
Those are some grandiose claims that a lot of times end up being just a fairly decent variety of scripted sequences.
Yeah.
They developed their own story. One of the 3 that we've written for them about whether you fought them one time and they died, or you fought them one time and they lived,
Yeah.
or you've never fought them at all.
It's like we have an idea of how programming works, and it's not magic.
Right.
It's not an infinite variety.
It reminds me of, I'll tell you what, when people, how people over the last year, everybody was upset about aliens, colonial marines, okay?
I'm familiar.
You're familiar with that? That sentiment for me happened with Fable. Because you remember the fucking game that Molyneux was spitting about how you plant a tree and then millions of years later there'll be a forest in this area instead of a town.
Well, Molyneux, he's kind of like the crazy uncle. He's like, we're throwing this party.
Yeah.
And fucking Andy Warhol's going to be there. There's going to be free blowjobs for everybody.
But
and the Rolling Stones are going to play. And then you show up and it's like his cousin's band, and there's a cheese plate
cover band.
Yeah, a cheese plate for people to pass around, and he's got like Transformers 2 playing in a loop on the DVD player.
That sounds like an awesome party. I go to that party. I go to Peter Molyneux's Transformers 2 cheese party.
That's Molyneux. It's like okay, Peter, we'll eat.
But you know what? The thing was that was the first time that I saw that happen. Was before that I didn't know. I mean, I don't know if it was even a thing before that Peter Molyneux always promises more than the game manages to deliver. But that was the first point where I was working at Apple at the time. Some guy was like, have you heard about Fable? And I was like, I heard of one thing. And then he started rolling off all this stuff to me. And I was just like, this sounds like the greatest fucking video game I've ever heard of my entire life. And then it came out, and I was considering buying an OG Xbox just to play it. And then I started reading reviews of it, and it was like, yeah, it doesn't do any of that shit that he was saying that it did.
Yeah.
It's totally bullshit. So I'm worried. I worry a lot of times when developers make like these kind of grandiose statements.
Yeah. Because they couldn't spend 100 years programming it.
Right. They don't have some kind of like her Joaquin Phoenix OS to just magically build the most sophisticated video game of all time and set it in the Lord of the Rings universe. I will say that I'm way more. I finally got a chance to see the Desolation of Smaug. And I'm way more interested in this game than I am in the third part of that. Boring.
Yeah,
I don't care for that shit at all, man.
Desolation of Smog, but
Smaug.
But I didn't. I was like, all right, yeah, well, that was cool.
Yeah, I
didn't really like how the third act played out, though.
I got bored about 45 minutes in and started playing Dark Souls while I was watching it, and then I got way more interested in playing Dark Souls than in watching the Desolation.
Do you ever find yourself like, when your mind is on something and you're like watching a movie and then you look over and your hands are playing Dark Souls, you're like, what? I didn't even realize I was doing this.
No, that doesn't actually happen. You got to pay attention to Dark Souls. You can't just play that shit on autopilot. Like, you know, you got to keep your eyes on the.
Do you ever wake up and you're sitting in front of your computer playing Dark Souls?
You know, I think it was on the last podcast where which Rolito talked about getting addicted to games. Dark Souls was one of those games where I took it to work and gave it to my friend and said, "Take it. You don't give this to me for a couple months. I did not have this around." But recently, without any real clear, I'm glad that Octodad is out this week because it's given me something to play so that I'm not just continuing to play Dark Souls over and over again.
To Dark Souls.
Yeah. The more time goes on, I can tell you that, you know, Dark Souls and Skyrim came out the same year. I have now played like so many more hours of Dark Souls than I ever have of Skyrim. I've gone back to it over and over again. I think I put Skyrim at the top of my Game of the Year list that year. I think if I had to do it again, I'd probably put Dark Souls there. So
okay,
I don't know.
That's weird.
All right, so next up in the totally news segment,
or the Schadenfreude category.
Yes, Candy Crush dev King has pulled this game Pack-a-Void after another developer accused them of essentially lifting it wholesale from them.
Yeah.
And I don't really know, like last week we didn't really rake King over the coals all that much, but they're starting to push it hard enough that they're kind of getting to the point where I'm like, yeah, fuck you guys.
It sounds to me like they are horrible, blood-sucking corporate motherfuckers.
Yeah. Well, I didn't even know, or I think I had read it right before we did the podcast, that Candy Crush Saga it's a match 3 game, right? Mm-hmm. Like, where the fuck do you guys get off making, like, saying that we own match, you know, that this, we need to protect our match 3 games have been around since fucking Bejeweled. And that's, what, like, how old is Bejeweled?
20?
20 years? No.
25? 30?
No.
Bejeweled? No. Yeah. Wait, no, I'm thinking of Columns.
Yeah, I was like, what the fuck are you talking about?
I'm thinking of Columns, sorry.
I mean, it depends on whether you count Columns or Dr. Mario or something like that as match 3. But I mean, at least Bejeweled, which is at least 10 years at the very least, right? So getting up on your high horse just because you managed to make money with this stuff. So it's funny because they had a statement where they said... they stressed that they perform a thorough search of existing games and review trademark filings to avoid infringement. Then they also pulled the game off the store. So
also, this guy who developed Scamper Ghost.
Yes,
he pitched it. To King.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's an important part of the story. He pitched it directly to them. And then they had a clone show up not too long after that.
Dude, that shit happens
all the time.
So much in the entertainment. I mean, not just games, but movies and TV shows and shit like that.
Yeah.
Hell, have you ever gone out and looked at there's like whole websites?
It happened to me.
Oh, did it?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell your story?
I'll tell it in broad strokes.
Okay. All right.
I'll tell it in broad strokes.
So you invented the chicken McNugget. Lifesavers.
Okay. So, there it is. Okay. That's the story. I had a short film that I did a long time ago. God, it's been 12 years or something like that.
Okay.
And it got a little bit of attention. Very little. And then I started shopping it around. I had producers talking to them, and they were like, well, we want to talk about making this feature length.
Okay.
And I met with several big studios that everyone would recognize.
Okay.
And this went on for like 9 months.
Mm-hmm.
And then it with me doing rewrites and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then it stopped.
Yeah.
And then I read in Variety, which is a magazine, a trade magazine about the film industry.
I know what Variety is.
Okay, well, other people may
okay.
not.
Oh, sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not just talking to you.
Okay, well.
And what I read is one of the studios that I had been discussing it with at length. They said, we just got the right, or they just optioned this one movie called blah, blah, blah. And the log line, which is like the one sentence description, was my log line.
What?
Yeah.
Dude.
Yeah.
Did you sue?
The movie never came out.
Oh, okay.
It never went into production. But I still have all of those emails.
Yeah.
With that company.
God, that would be so shitty. Like if you got somebody else who wanted to make that movie, and then they were like, "No, we've got rights. This is our original story," and then you have to get in all that bullshit. I mean, there's like I was. Have you ever seen the websites that are about ad agencies that just lift other people's art? That like somebody will make like a short,
but I know like some popular clothing chains do that.
Oh yeah,
like independent artists will just take that and put it on a T-shirt, and
like you'll have somebody who does something really dynamic as like their final project at art school or whatever.
Yeah,
and then ad agencies will just lift that shit whole cloth and never give them a dime or anything.
Oh yeah,
and what are you supposed to do if you're just a single person and they've got a whole?
You don't have the money to go up against something. Yeah,
I mean, you could probably spend 10 years of your life and then maybe get a settlement that would maybe make up for that 10 years of your life that you wasted like trying to fight them.
Well, you have to have all of the money to go up and fight some corporate conglomerate. And that's the thing about the American justice system is that it favors the people who have money.
Yep. Well, speaking of people who have money, or in some cases don't have money, last week we were talking about how EA is going to make money regardless. And then I come across a story this week saying that they had a $308 million loss in the third quarter.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. Let's see what it says here. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, I don't know. It just looks like they're down from where they were last year.
That's, a $308 million loss.
I don't know.
That's kind of big, right?
Say, this compares favorably to the blah, 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 blah. 16.3% increase from last quarter's reported $695 million. I don't know. I don't think they're really hurting.
Here's the thing.
We're not financial analysts. We can't really,
Again, talking about how fucked up America is, right? EA loses $308 million still in business.
Yeah.
I report losses of $308.
Yeah.
I'm homeless.
Yeah.
I'm fucked.
Yeah, I don't know. So I don't know. Maybe this shit is.
So what was the big thing that caused them to lose?
It doesn't look like it. Doesn't look like there's any specific thing.
Let's think about it. What?
Let's see.
What could it have been? It wasn't Madden.
No, probably not.
What were some of the big properties?
Calling out a
Battlefield did great.
FIFA, NHL reported trailing 12-month total revenue and projects its revenue for fiscal 2014. Be $3.52 billion. This article does not really say.
Yeah,
it's just an earnings call.
But there's got to be like a couple of big losses because you're going to start seeing this more often.
Yeah,
we've talked about this before.
Mm-hmm.
As game development costs rise, as they have been, $308 million. That could be. Probably 2 failed games right there.
Reported the same quarter of last year.
Most games that are released are not profitable these days.
Yeah.
Is that right? Am I just talking out of my ass
here? No, hold on. Let me just read this real fast. It's period of 3 months, blah, blah, blah. Company reported a net revenue of $808 million, which compares unfavorably to the $922 million reported during the same quarter of last year. So last year, in the fourth quarter, they made $922 million, and this year they made $808 million. But from the last quarter's earnings, I'm not.
Yeah, whatever. It's bad.
I'm not smart enough.
It's bad.
It's possible. You know what? It's possible that this may just be word of mouth for some of the series, like Battlefield 4. You might have had people. Journalists, and there's articles that I'm seeing all the time about how buggy Battlefield 4 is that results in people just being like, I'm not going to buy it. Or maybe, they wanted more new game console launch sales. I don't know. To be honest, I brought this up because it was basically directly refuting what we were speculating about last week, but we're neither one of us are really financial analysts. I couldn't really say. Go listen to fucking Michael Pachter. He'll probably tell you at some point why this happened. But I don't know. I mean, I still wonder over the next coming years whether we're going to start seeing this sort of trend where we start to see the type of earnings that companies like EA is making trending downwards until they are forced to become essentially like larger middle tier corporations instead of like giant, or small large tier corporations as opposed to mid-level devs or indie devs. But I would say that 2013 was a great year for indie developers. Like there was a lot of great stuff that you could get for $20 or less.
And it seems like 2014 is probably going to be even bigger.
Maybe so. Maybe so. I just wonder if they're going to do like what I guess the only example that springs to mind is in the beer industry where they, if EA starts to see the money rolling through these indies, they're just going to start buying the indies and publishing them, secretly. They're going to let them keep their indie status, but there's going to be some kind of back channel deal where they're funneling money or back and forth type of thing.
Right.
So that you still get to have your indie cred as an indie gamer of buying an indie game, but that it actually turns out that 20% of the profit that they make is going to go back to EA for a loan or dev costs or stuff like that. But I don't know, these days it's like you have to report that stuff so much that it seems like it would be hard to keep that a secret.
There are no secrets anymore.
Yeah.
Really? I mean, we got Snowden out there putting everything out, so we got to have him. We got to contact Snowden. It's like, I know you're doing important work with disseminating information and all that, but can you get us a build of like Watch Dogs?
What do you know about Ubisoft?
Yes.
I don't care about your traitorous whatever. I just want to know about Ubisoft.
Treason schmeason.
Yeah. What's the real story about why Watch Dogs didn't come out last year?
Give me an early build of The Division.
Metal Gear Solid.
Oh, shut up with that.
5. So another rumor that came out is apparently somebody was talking to a source close to Sony told Eurogamer that Sony is planning on putting PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 backwards compatibility on the PlayStation 4. Okay. And this is not streaming. This is running directly on emulation hardware on the PlayStation 4. I think that this is long overdue, especially with the PS2 back catalog and the fact that throughout the PS3's lifespan, they had all this property that was just laying around that wasn't that nobody could get access to, right? Unless you had a first-gen PS3. So I think that it could be that if the...
Which I did.
Which you did?
Yeah, and do.
The backwards compatible PS3?
Yes, but I didn't go back and play any PS1 or PS2 games. You know why?
Because you don't play old games.
Because I had a fucking PS3.
Right. But there were plenty of great PS2 games that would have been nice to have access to.
Yeah, that's true.
What I'm hoping is that this may be, I mean, like what is exciting to me about this is that between PlayStation Now doing the streaming thing for PS3 games and PS1 and PS2 games running on the PS4 could be one of the greatest gaming systems that we've ever seen.
Yeah.
If it's like the ability to play every game in the entire quote-unquote PlayStation library outside of PSP and Vita games.
Monetize your entire back catalog.
Yeah.
Why not?
Well, Microsoft doesn't seem really interested in doing that. I mean, they've got some stuff that you can play or that, the stuff that comes out in HD.
Is it just not worth it financially?
I don't know. I really don't. I think that, maybe Microsoft is just marketing their console to people like you, who they're like, you don't give a shit if the PlayStation 4 can play PlayStation 1 games because you don't play PlayStation 1 games.
Yeah.
So
I rarely go back and play games again. Sometimes I do for nostalgia's sake, but they're usually classics. I'll go back and play arcade classics, like we've talked about.
So I don't know. Between the PlayStation 4s, right now there really isn't, there isn't a hell of a lot going on. I don't know if there's been a PS4, I guess Tomb Raider Definitive Edition came out last week.
Yeah.
But
they're porting more stuff from the iPad
are they?
onto the consoles. Well, what was it? Spartan Assault?
Oh, but that's Microsoft. I'm thinking
still
Sony,
whatever. Yeah,
like
I'm talking about the new consoles.
Had that many releases on the PS4 original releases. But their dedication to indie games and the full back catalog of every PlayStation game that's ever happened on a subscription service where
Twisted Metal 2.
Yeah, like this shit could just be like, if you talk to somebody and they're like, I've never played a video game before, what should I do? It's like, go buy a PS4 and just start working through that entire thing, top to bottom. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see how that shakes out, and more interested also that that this is actually running on the hardware of the PS4 instead of being an emulated thing, because you can at least know those PS2 games. I don't know. If you had to go back and play one PS2 game, what do you think it would? What do you think? What would you pick to stand out of the PS2?
Soul Reaver.
Soul Reaver?
Yeah.
Is that PS2 or is that PS1?
Ooh.
Legacy of Kain? I thought that was PS1, wasn't it?
Legacy of Kain was PS1.
Oh, right. No, Soul...
I think Soul Reaver was PS2.
It's too bad I don't have like some kind of global information superhighway that I can look this shit up
the
on.
Accumulated knowledge of the entire human race?
Yeah, PlayStation.
It was PlayStation 1?
Windows, PlayStation, Dreamcast.
Wow.
Legacy of Kain, Soul Reaver.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. PS2. But PS2, I mean, you remember there was like good 10 years there where the PS2 was just... There's everything on that motherfucker.
Yeah.
They're putting out so many games.
That's where I first played GTA 3.
Yep. All right. In much more exciting news, Far Cry 3 Blood director, head dev, is basically putting together a new team to make his quote-unquote dream project, which is not Blood Dragon 2.
Well, I don't care then.
There's actually a quote here where he says, "The audience I'm interested in speaking to is people that dismiss games and don't consider themselves gamers," which is incredibly worrying to me because that makes it sound like he's making Candy Crush Saga
right.
for PC or something like that.
How about this? I want Blood Dragon 2 more blood. Blood Dragoner.
Bloodier Dragoner?
Yeah.
Blood Dragoner?
Blood Dragon 2 Dragoner.
More Dragoner?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I want.
Well,
I want it to be like the entire map of GTA 5 with Blood Dragon.
Jesus. Well, it sounds like he pitched Blood Dragon 2 to Ubisoft and they were like, no.
What? Ubisoft.
Let's see. Last year, actor Michael Biehn, who plays Blood Dragon, or plays Rex Power Colt, said that Evans was pitching the idea for a sequel to Ubisoft. Unfortunately, Ubisoft did not respond to our inquiries for the matter. So I would think that if it was going to be, being made, it would already be on track to being made.
Yeah.
But I'm still interested.
Stupid French dickheads.
I mean, it's funny because there's rumors out there right now that Ubisoft is making Far Cry 4.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's great. So when do we get Blood Dragon 2 on the Far Cry 4 engine? Because Blood Dragon, I liked Blood Dragon more than Far Cry 3.
Yes. And I liked Far Cry 3 quite a bit.
Oh, me too. I mean, I felt, Voss got the short end of the stick.
Yes.
But other than that. All right. And, oh, shit, we are just tearing the news up today, Jason.
Take it, news.
Finally.
Take it.
Oh, EVE Online.
EVE Online.
So, in EVE Online... let's see what it says. There was a missed payment for a contested area of space that left that area that left it contested.
Okay.
And this erupted into a full-on fucking just universe war with 4,000 players. The biggest battle that's ever happened in EVE Online's history. That apparently, at the end of the day, cost them about $500,000 worth of real-world money in damages.
And that's a thing. There's like a ratio of their ISK,
right,
which is like Icelandic
something like that,
something like that, yeah.
Wherever CCP is.
But yeah, that you can lose real money in EVE Online, and the participants in this lost like $500,000
worth of destruction.
Yeah, that's crazy.
And I'm looking at this. I was showing Jason before that there's some animated GIFs online of this stuff. It's bananas.
There's so many ships.
Like it's actually I love EVE Online. I wish I could play it so bad.
You want to participate in this so bad.
I really do. Like,
but it's so much work.
It's so much work. Like there was that story that was out there for a while about like real world people recruiting. It was like there was this guy who was a diplomat who was like recruiting people into EVE, into his corporation in EVE, to do like negotiations and stuff. And then like if those people were really good in EVE, then he would extend to them like an official government. Like,
what?
Would you like to work for the diplomatic corps of my government? The guy ended up getting killed in like some African nation or something like that. Like, I mean, just like there are just there are things about EVE Online that I want to be a part of so bad, Jason.
This is an OCD's wet dream.
And I've tried playing it a few times, and it's this spreadsheet on the right that kind of...
Yeah, it's like, well, here's your Excel file. Good luck.
And you know what I want to do is I want a version of EVE Online where all I'm doing is playing in these conflicts.
Right.
Or like that one that we reported on where that guy had like that super carrier that got trapped in the middle of space.
But the thing is, these happen so rarely that if you were playing it to where you were just playing in these conflicts, it wouldn't mean anything to you.
No,
it wouldn't mean the same thing that it does to them, because when this happens, it's a big deal.
Sure. Well, it's just part of that whole storytelling thing of you've got to have the slow part so that the frenetic parts mean something. If you're just frenetic all the time, then it doesn't mean anything. But man, you know what I tell you what I really want. What I really want is I want a spectator account for EVE Online, and I want a Google alert when shit like this goes down so I can log in and just watch it happen in real time.
Yeah.
That's all I care about.
I wonder, because they've got that thing called time dilation, which is basically their way of dealing with lag.
Yep.
And so I wonder how all of these play out in real time. I guess I should get on YouTube and just check.
God.
I think it's fascinating, this whole thing.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, wow, I'd like to be a part of something like that, but I don't have the patience at all.
Yeah.
At all. I get frustrated if my order at Taco Bell takes more than 5 minutes.
Do you get frustrated when you're in the drive-thru and the person in front of you is in the drive-thru and it seems like it's taking forever, and then they start handing them like 12 bags through the window?
Yeah.
And like, go the fuck in. Go in, asshole, or call that shit in. I mean, you can't call order at Taco Bell.
Well, I've tried. Nobody ever answers.
But yeah, we're just looking at these screenshots on, I guess it's on Imager.
Thousands,
so many
ships
and lasers.
It's insane.
Like you know what? I've never seen a movie. Or an
with
anime
that many ships.
with this many ships at one time. And I
remember being blown away by Return of the Jedi when they threw all those TIE fighters at the Rebel fleet.
This shit makes that shit. Like that shit
bananas.
Fits into like the bottom 8th corner of like the entire Death Star 2 battle fits into a tiny space of what the fuck is going on
Check
here.
out these images. You can find them pretty easily online, I'm sure. And there are just so many ships on the screen at one time.
Like, look at this. I'm sorry. Sorry, you guys can't see this, but
you can't even tell what the stars are versus what the ships are.
Right. It's just this picture like of way zoomed out, and there's like hundreds of these little squares that are all an individual player.
Oh, it's like just like termites attacking each other.
Yeah. I mean, oh god. I mean, have you ever read any of the stories about like the complicated confidence scams that happen on EVE Online and like the whole thing is it's one of the most fascinating video games of all time, and yet I just feel it's like so opaque to me.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what I should have done over the holidays.
It seems like there's
really
a big barrier for entry.
There is. I mean, I mean, you know, like you hear stories about when you want to join a corporation, somebody has to call you on the phone and talk to you and give you an interview and stuff. And I'm like,
it's like, I don't want to talk to any of those motherfuckers.
Yeah, I don't want to talk to you.
It's like, how about this? I pay my monthly and I play the game.
Yeah. But then I guess that's the investment that you have to make to be a part of this kind of, you know, thing that is rarely seen. I mean, this shit's almost making the Reaper fight at the end of Mass Effect 3 look tame.
I know.
In comparison.
Yeah, it's insane. All those lasers everywhere.
This is what I'm hoping that Star Citizen looks like, and I can get in on the ground floor and then do this shit in Star Citizen. So, and you know what? That's kind of all the news. There's one other story out there about like it was another kind of one of those just ha 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 stories where some people brought a class action lawsuit against Rockstar because of the online component of GTA 5.
It was broken.
And they were just like, "This you fucked us." And it was like, and a judge was like, "Shut up." And I was like, "That's great. I'm glad that there are judges out there to just go, shut up.
Grow up, bitch."
So all right. Well, you know what? We're going to take a quick break here. When we come back, we've actually got a bunch of your emails that we're going to answer. We've got some interesting questions this week.
Really?
Some that are video game related, some that are not video game related.
I'll be the judge of that.
All right. You guys sit before. Oh, dude, can we get you like the outfit that Q wears in the first of Star Trek Next Generation?
Oh, I have one.
Judge guy. You have one?
Yeah, totally.
Do you have the floating chair too?
No, not yet.
Do you have the outfit of the guy that's got like Coke in his little badge, so I can pull that out and fat guard guy, so I can be that guy.
Let's make that happen.
Okay,
I want to do that.
all right.
We'll cosplay. We'll go up to Convergence in Minneapolis or whatever.
Dude, I heard that Convergence is like where geeks go to get some.
Really?
Yeah, that like as opposed to other conventions, that Convergence actually talks about having like a 50-50 male to female ratio.
Cargill keeps trying to get me to go.
Mm-hmm. I know Brian Salisbury was really upset last year that he couldn't go.
Oh, he's going this year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to go because I hear there's a 50% geek chicks there. What the hell, man?
Hashtag Jeff can't close.
I got my own internet show, baby. What's up? I'm a big deal on this tiny little quadrant. My Alexa ranking is mediocre at best.
Woo! Let's fuck.
All right, folks. Well, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to do the emails. The address is mail@rageselect.com. It's mail@rageselect.com. I'm convinced at this point that we've still got people sending questions to the admin account because they're just pissing me off or they're just trying to irritate me at this point. Don't send them there. Send them to mail@rageselect.com. There should be a link below in the description if you're watching this on YouTube. There should be a link below on the website. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we'll get on those questions. Back. It's time for the questions.
Bring them.
You got your judge's helmet on?
Yes.
Is it what fictitious judgment character do you think that should be most closely associated with?
Dredd.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. All right. What if Dredd had to have like one of those British Parliament style like white hair things?
I think
like,
he would be scarier.
Coming out of the bottom of his helmet?
Yes.
Okay.
I think he'd be even more terrifying.
All
those
right.
wigs are weird.
I still don't understand. Somebody from Britain, will you write in and
Explain it to us, please.
Explain it, because, okay, I understand it's tradition and everything, but you guys don't all wear, like, tights and tunics and, like, shit like that. So, all right, our first question comes in from Carlos, and Carlos says, Dear Jeff and Jason, the Wii U at this point is likely going to go the way of the Dreamcast, barely 15 months old when they pull the plug on it. Sooner or later, should Nintendo ditch it and start production on another more powerful console in order to catch up with the Xbox One and the PS4 within a reasonable time frame? Thanks, guys, and keep on raging hard, Carlos.
I don't know, man.
We saw there were some stories out there about them starting to make, like, mobile apps to get people excited for their games or whatever.
That's not going to work.
That seems like a very strange.
I read something today about how they were going to start doing like a new console that was centered around fitness.
Oh God, Nintendo.
Hey, I'm a gamer.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about fitness.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. I don't know.
I don't want that thing in my house.
Is this just are we just seeing essentially at this point that Nintendo has run out of gimmicks essentially?
I bet if there is another Nintendo console, it will be the last one.
You think so?
Unless it's massively successful.
I've always thought that it would be, they've got such a good handle on handheld consoles, right?
Yeah.
That if they just made something that was like not specifically a Vita, but something that was able to pull off like high end or low end like PS3, Xbox 360 kind of graphics, and if it was something that was built on an x86 architecture, so that your devs were it was easy to develop for, and then just make that thing have an HDMI out on it.
Yeah.
Like, that's your console.
Yeah.
If you want the Nintendo console, just buy the 4DS or whatever, even though that's stupid.
It can travel through time.
That's right. And then just hook that shit up to your TV because it wouldn't cost them as much to make. And you know what? I stopped playing Fire Emblem because I just get tired of being hunched over a 3DS for a long. Like, back in the OG old days, well, in the old days, GameCube. The GameCube had that thing you bolted onto the bottom. You could put a GBA cartridge into, and you could play that shit on your TV. And when I played Final Fantasy Tactics, I played the entire game on my television.
Yeah.
So I think that if Nintendo just took what they do best, which right now is the handhelds, and then use that as your platform instead of bothering, or if they're going to do what the modern console developers are doing, they need to do it right. They need to do x86 based architecture, basically a PC in a box, and maybe drop all of the stuff if they want to try to win people back.
Are we ready to call the Wii U a failure?
I've seen some of the earnings stuff for it. It's pretty bad. It's pretty fucking bad.
So yes,
I would say that there's if this E3, if they come out and say new Metroid for the Wii U, new Zelda for the Wii U, I think there's already a Kirby game in development for the Wii U, Smash Brothers for the Wii U, another Mario game for the Wii U, and it's all going to be out before Christmas of 2014. That
maybe
like if they had one blockbuster a month from say July until December, where they were just like, and here's the best. The problem, I was going to say Mario Tennis is the best Mario Tennis you've ever played, but I don't give a shit about Mario Tennis.
Right.
But I feel
like I can go into Grand Theft Auto and play tennis.
I honestly feel like they're just reaping the rewards of what they've been engendering for the last 10 years, you know? That I don't give a shit about Wii Sports. I don't give a shit about motion controls. I'm not super hip on the Wii U pad.
Right.
Yeah, I want to shoot lasers at people, and
so I think, I think we are going to soon see the death of Nintendo as a hardware manufacturer.
I think they'll always do handhelds.
Okay,
I don't know if they'll do another console, but if they don't do another console, we've talked about this before. That would open them up to the crazy day when the new Mario game is on the Xbox One.
Yeah,
and we're all just going like, what?
Yeah.
How the fuck? Wait, are you telling me there's a PC port of Super Mario 3D Land 2? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah.
Because that's fucking bananas. But I don't think we'll ever see them go away fully. I don't think they'll always be a software company at least.
They've been around forever.
Yeah. Plus, who knows? Maybe they'll put out, maybe the Wii U, they learn from the Wii U like they learned from the GameCube, and they put out the Wii 2 next year or something like late 2015, and suddenly we're all back into it. We're
back in love with
it. Yeah, and it's we've speculated before about maybe Nintendo is the one console company that's forward-thinking enough to shove a Nintendo VR headset out there before anybody else gets their shit together.
Yeah, they did that.
Oh, yeah, well, but they maybe learned from the Virtual Boy. Maybe it's not all red and black this time. It gives you a terrible headache, and you can actually strap it to your face. So, I don't know, Carlos. But it's not looking super great right now.
Pretty grim.
Our next one comes in from Monjava. I kind of feel like that should be reversed, right? Javamon. Hi, Jeff and Jason, and or Kevin and Nick. If you haven't answered this one already, I was wondering what some tropes in the fantasy RPG genre, video games, or any other genre you guys find repetitive, overused, and or ran into the ground. In your opinion, what ideas and concepts do you think would breathe new life into these genres? Thanks, and I love you guys, Monjava.
I would actually, I'd like to see, to answer the second question, I'd like to see something that was, I don't know, modern.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be fantasy or sci-fi. Make a Western RPG, or something like that.
Are there any tropes in Western RPGs that you're tired of?
Like a cowboy RPG.
Oh shit.
Yeah, that's what I mean by Western.
Okay, like Hi-Yo Silver. Wasn't there one of those like Wild Arms 2?
Was there
a JRPG that had a kind of Western bent to it? I think I never played them, but I seem to remember that being.
Make one that's a straight Western RPG or a
Red
modern
Dead Tactics. Is that what you're talking about?
Not even tactics, but something like that. You know. But the thing that I am most sick of in fantasy RPG genre is the villager, the boy who you're actually prophesied to be a great hero.
Sure,
it's like Jesus again.
Yep.
Okay.
Goddamn prophecies, always doing their prophesizing.
It's always the Joseph Campbell shit.
I think that for my money, I'm I like a lot of JRPGs, but even I'm starting to get sick of a few things. Like, dude, I could seriously do without any more Moogles in Final Fantasy games. Like, those guys were interesting when 6 came out, but you kind of tore them up for me to the point where and you remember Final Fantasy 13 too, where you had and he said "Kupo," and he had like all that dialogue. You just want to strangle his ass.
Yeah.
I'd also be interested in, what I'd like to see? I'd like to see a JRPG take on Fallout. I'd like to see fucking Square Enix make Fallout 4 into just some bizarro, like, I don't know. That just sounds very interesting to me. I'm kind of tired of. There's a lot of tropes in JRPGs, at least that I think come from anime that I really don't like, which is that it always seems like they're focused way more on the emotional state of the characters than they are on the actual what the fuck is going on.
Yes.
Like, I know this dragon is eating the world, but what's really important is that you believe in yourself. It's like, no, the dragon is eating the world is pretty important, you guys. Let's do that. I also think that they could do with just a straight up injection of Western RPG elements.
Absolutely.
I don't know.
Well, you're just talking about fantasy. Here, we're just talking about fantasy RPG in general.
Oh, yeah, I guess so.
Not JRPG.
Not JRPG. I don't know. I like a fair amount of fantasy RPG. I'll tell you.
Okay.
This isn't even RPGs. This is just fantasy in general. You know what I'm tired of? I'm tired of the motherfucking elves. All right? I'm tired of those assholes. They're always better than you.
Yep.
They live forever. They're super pretty, blah, blah, blah. We're the elves. We're so good at everything.
Mm-hmm.
And, fuck those guys. Those guys need to be taken down a notch.
I am tired of, when you have a mysterious relationship to this big bad guy.
Oh, yeah.
Is he your father?
Oh. Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of stuff that's just... It's not even anything based on fantasy RPGs. It's just fucking lazy storytelling. The Chosen One,
right?
Relationship with the bad guy. Basically anything that uses Tolkien as a starting point.
Yep.
Or Forgotten Realms, or which
most
the same
of them.
thing. That's why I liked Banner Saga so much. Was because you had the giants, but no other species really in there, and it was real gritty and kind of hardcore. I think we could use way more of that. I mean, are there any RPGs in 2014 that you're looking forward to?
Oh, nothing I can think of.
See, because I think Witcher 3.
Oh, yeah. Witcher 3. Yeah.
Because I think that those games are gritty and interesting, but they still have some... They're like Game of Thrones. They're adult,
boobs.
You don't have Geralt ever going like, I just need to believe in myself to be able to overcome. He's like, I just need to put poison on all of my swords so that when I cut them, they die slowly.
I like that guy.
Elder Scrolls Online, does that count as an RPG?
Yes, but I'm pretty ambivalent to it at this point.
We watched a trailer yesterday for Bravely Default.
Yeah, that looks good, and I hear early reviews of it are actually really positive.
Yeah. I don't know. I just wish that there was a time, it feels like at a certain point, I mean, this is back to JRPGs, that Square stopped evolving their formula, and I just feel like they need to go back and like, okay, you know what? You can make a game without Sid, crystals, all Fira and Shiva and all this bullshit. Just make a original thing from the ground up. And you know what? Pick the future or the past. I'm tired of the future where everybody's got swords and fire magic, or the past where they've all got guns and airships. Pick one. All right, our next question comes in from Jacob, and Jacob says, hello, Jeff and Jason. What is your opinion about realism versus power fantasy in games? Games like DayZ are brutally realistic to the point where it's almost no fun, while games like Dead Rising 3 let you become an omnipotent typhoon of blood and violence to the point that hordes of ghouls only serve as a minor inconvenience. What games do you think strike the right balance? I think that games like Fallout 3 and New Vegas strike a nice balance between running scared in the beginning and being a demigod at the end. Thanks for answering and ushering in Ragnarok, Jacob.
Yeah, there's a fine line as far as my personal enjoyment goes between realism and fun. Mm-hmm. Some people like, of course, total crazy realism.
Yeah.
And other people just like, power fantasies. Mm-hmm. Of course, I go back to this a lot, but I think Skyrim balances that pretty well. You start off just as a naked chump,
right?
But then by the end, you're taking down dragons in 1 or 2 hits. If you do it right. So I prefer a balance, like somewhere that just kind of straddles it right in the middle. Although there is something to be said about, like, Saints Row 4, where you become godlike,
mm-hmm.
And also DayZ, where it's ridiculously frustrating because it's so quote unquote realistic.
I think that
relatively,
you play a lot of games. In fact, I don't want to keep bringing this up, but stuff like Dark Souls, where I think the important thing is there's a real fine line. I feel like it's really subjective for players between how much frustration you'll put up with before you just throw up your hands and say, go fuck yourself, game.
Right.
So you need to strike the perfect balance of, in the beginning, being challenging versus being so challenging that you turn the player off and they're just going to walk away.
Agreed.
Like I'm going to actually go play some DayZ, and I'm not going to be the sort of person who's willing to give DayZ a pass, because if you are willing to put 6 million hours into it, it becomes fun at hour 6,000,001. Like there's got to be a reasonable return for the investment that you put into the early parts of the game. And a lot of games get around that really well by, we see it all the time. It's not really, I guess you technically would be called abilities, right? Where you start the game and you're very, very powerful.
Oh, right.
And then they take all that away and they put you back to square one because they're showing you where you're going to end up in the game. Or in the cases that he's set here, like, I think that Fallout 3 is wonderful, and Skyrim is like that as well, because you can break both of those games, essentially.
Yeah.
And there comes a point in the 100+ hours of Skyrim where I'm not interested in having a fucking life or death fight with every dumb enemy that I come across.
Right.
I just want to do this quest, and at a certain point, I want to feel like I've earned the right to just steamroll over the entire game.
Agreed. Yeah, that's one of the problems with the scaling. Different argument, but tangentially related.
Well, that's one of the. I was actually thinking about this the other day. That's one of the things that I don't like about New Vegas, is that in New Vegas they took away and nerfed a lot of the power that you had in Fallout 3. So that's one of the reasons I don't like the game. And a lot of times people will come in and they'll be like, "Well, Fallout 3 was too easy, and this was, you shouldn't be afraid of having some challenge or blah 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 blah." And I'm like, that's all you. That's your opinion, and I respect that you don't have any problem with it, but they took things in Fallout 3 that made you into a Wasteland super god and nerfed them. They nerfed that game. And after spending hundreds of hours in Fallout crafting my Wasteland super god, that's the character that I want to play. I don't want the developer to be telling me how to have fun in what is ostensibly a sequel to a game where I already learned how to have fun in that game.
Right.
I know what I want out of it. On the other hand, we haven't really addressed that, sometimes you get games that are just too easy.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like we were talking earlier about Assassin's Creed, right? And how I think that something really needs to be done the next Assassin's Creed game about the combat in Assassin's Creed, because it's become more of a chore because it's so fucking easy.
Mm-hmm. It
is super easy to kill hundreds of guys in Assassin's Creed, which doesn't really work for the story. And it's one of the problems that I had where they took the call in an assassin thing out, because at a certain point in Assassin's Creed I felt like, well, I've done all this groundwork.
Yeah.
I'm going to
call in the assassin, end it, and move on.
I'm going to be the CEO of Assassin Co. now, instead of having to wade into every battle and stab a bunch of guys. I'm just going to call my boys in and they're going to do their thing, and then we're going to continue on with the story. So, yep, it takes a good balance. All right, our next question comes in from John, and John says, "Hello there, Mighty Rage Select. I have a question for Jason Murphy, and that is, why does he have a serious dislike for Superior Spider-Man? I would like to know why, considering that I and a lot of people think that it is one of the best comics to come out last year. I hope to hear an answer, except rather than the concept is stupid, because this is a character that got superpowers from a radioactive spider bite instead of cancer. Thanks, to keep up the awesome work, John."
Okay, so years ago...
I'm going to put down the mic for a second here.
Yeah, years ago, I picked up, I dropped, actually, reading Spider-Man because of One More Day. I hated how it went down. I hated what it was trying to accomplish, because they were basically regressing the character. I liked the fact that I had kind of grown up with Peter Parker. He went from a kid and now he was an adult, and he had married this model, and they hadn't had a perfect relationship. It was rocky, but his life wasn't perfect, and he'd earned his way into the Avengers. And then they came along and said, no, Spider-Man sold best when it was in the late 60s and he was a teenager. So that's the only thing that can work. And so they said, let's undo all of this and let's send it back. Even though he had been married at the point One More Day came along, he had been married for longer than he had ever been single.
Yeah.
And so I boycotted it. It's not that I have a problem with Superior Spider-Man because I realize that Dr. Octopus essentially possessing him, quote unquote. I realize that's just a story mechanic, and of course Peter Parker's going to be back. It's interesting. It went on a long time, but I also saw the mercenary side of it for what they were trying to do. Mm-hmm. It was still them trying to put the genie back in the bottle. Mm-hmm. They were they undid the marriage,
right?
And they undid the whole unmasking in Civil War and him saying, "I'm Peter Parker. I've been Spider-Man since I was 15." They got rid of that,
right?
And Superior Spider-Man. The end result, and I identified it right away, it's them isolating Spider-Man from the Marvel Universe and making him the outsider again.
Uh-huh.
And I read, spoilers, I read an issue. I actually bought my first issue of Spider-Man since One More Day.
How long has that been?
Like 6 or 7 years.
Oh, Jesus, okay.
And I'm going to start reading it again because I really like Spider-Man.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, you know what? You guys win. I realize you're not going to put it back to the way I liked it. Mm-hmm. You're hell-bent on regressing the character, doing away with all of this progress and development, and just taking him back to the lonely, misunderstood loner.
Yeah.
But I picked it up today, and it was good. I liked it. I wish that I still had the old Spider-Man back, but I called it in this issue that I picked up. Spoilers! Mm-hmm. If you haven't read the issue that came out on January 29th or whatever, Superior Spider-Man 26, I think it was, he gets kicked out of the Avengers.
Okay.
Because he's acting like an asshole, because it's Otto Octavius in his brain.
Yeah.
And I just realized, I was like, yeah, of course, that's what you're doing. Mm-hmm. You're, again, trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube. Mm-hmm. And this has been the long game of making Spider-Man an asshole so Peter Parker is on the fringe again when he comes back.
So you're saying that they're using the Otto Octavius possession storyline to essentially tear down his life so that when they reassert Peter Parker, he's basically back to Spider-Man square one outside of...
Exactly.
Nobody trusts him, he's hated, and blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I hate that. Mm-hmm. I'm like, let's see the character develop. And I realize that you can't have the character develop too much because there's the big two, DC and Marvel, are all about the status quo.
Right.
Things can't change too much. That's why Batwoman couldn't get married recently.
Oh, yeah.
Because they want to keep things as they are. I'm okay with them progressing.
Yeah.
You know? I've watched Spider-Man progress for 30 years now. Mm-hmm. I just feel like this is okay. Let's dismantle everything. Let's take it back to where it was, and let's just not change it. And I liked having him a part of the Avengers.
Right.
I liked having him have a little bit of happiness. And it's like, I think the guy's name is Tom Beeland. He wrote an indie comic that the name is escaping me right now. But he said, because Joe Quesada back during One More Day said, well, you can't really tell as many good stories with a married Spider-Man. It's like, you want interesting married Spider-Man stories? Then write interesting married Spider-Man stories.
I feel like that's whenever I hear anybody talking about this, especially about One More Day and about Spider-Man, about that sort of thing, whenever I hear this come up, it to me rings in my ears the same way that that whenever you hear anybody say, well, you can't write a good Superman story.
Bullshit.
It's like you're it's not that you can't write a good Superman story, it's that you're not trying to write a good Superman story.
And it's hard.
Sure.
Right?
It's going to be hard.
Some of them are more difficult than others.
Sure.
Like Superman. I wouldn't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And there was a time in my life where I said, no, you can't write any good Superman stories. And then All-Star Superman came out.
Sure.
And it's one of the greatest Superman stories ever.
Dude, I still have, I never bought Superman when it was, when I bought JLA back when I was just collecting comics, but I never bought Superman. But I still have the single issue of What's So Funny About Truth, Justice, the American Way.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's one of the finest comics I've ever read in my life. And it was essentially a big middle finger to Warren Ellis and the Authority. But,
yeah. Yeah.
But I just think that anytime that you hear people where they're like, well, we need to reboot this because there are no good XX stories left to tell. Like, so what you're essentially telling me is that what you're going to do is you're going to reboot this so that you can tell the same stories you've already told over and over and over again.
Exactly.
Because you're eventually going to write your Spider-Man back to where he is now, and then you're going to need to have Dr. Doom possess him and make him go outsider again.
And people say, well, that's when Spider-Man sold the most, and when he was most popular is when he was the swinging single guy. No pun intended. Yeah, I actually didn't mean to do that. But back when he was that guy, all comics were selling better than they are now.
Yes,
all of them.
Sure.
And Spider-Man is insanely popular.
Well, I mean, tell me, like, do you have any idea about what are the greatest selling comics right now? Like, what is at the top of the comics list?
You've got, the like Marvel Events comics. Superior Spider-Man's actually doing pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And Walking Dead.
Walking Dead
is a huge hit,
that would be like if The Walking Dead came out and everybody was just like, yeah, we've already told every zombie story that's ever, like, that statement seems insane to me, because it's like, well, it'd be like somebody saying to you, we can't write science fiction novels anymore because we've told all the science fiction stories that can ever be told.
Yeah.
It's like, you're devoid of ideas, and you're blaming the property for that. Like, yeah, it's probably not going to be the same Spider-Man that people were reading in the 70s, but there's stories to tell.
There's plenty. If you want that Spider-Man, go back and read that Spider-Man.
Sure.
There's lots of stories like that.
I mean, the fact that they've got the whole Ultimate Universe where they can do whatever the fuck they want to, or make Superior Spider-Man a full-on, like, an Elseworlds book, or I guess it would be like a what-if book or whatever, where you just split the continuity and be like, we're going to write all those Spider-Man stories over again for everybody who wants to read old Spider-Man.
Right.
And then for the people who are adults, we're going to have this other book where it's maybe a little bit more toned down, or maybe a little bit more interesting. Or, like in Astro City, they had their Spider-Man analog was Jack in the Box, kind of. I mean, people, whatever, but they had a whole storyline that was basically about that guy getting older and having a family and realizing that he needs to pass the mantle on.
Yeah.
But he's still going to be very involved with who he passed the mantle to.
Well, that happened in Spider-Girl, which was it was part of the M2 imprint, a very limited run Marvel imprint, where they said, okay, what if all these characters progressed in real time?
Yeah.
And Peter Parker, I want to say he had like a fake leg or something. I didn't read it. But his daughter, May, was Spider-Girl. And he was an older, retired Peter Parker, or
sounds
something
like him
that.
in Earth X.
Yeah, right.
The same way there, yeah.
Yeah, but, it's let your characters progress a little bit. I don't think that I don't think it has anything to do with the fact that it's similar to how it was in the late 60s. It's like, if it's a good story, people are going to read it.
Well, the opposite side of that coin is that I can empathize a little bit with the fact that if you've got an editorial edict that says you cannot progress this character in any way, shape, or forward, you can't dramatically change their life.
Then how do you tell a story?
Then eventually, yes, you get to a point where you're just like, oh my God, we have literally told every single story that we can here, and we just need to move this guy forward a little bit in order to do something different and open the door for all of these other stories to come in. So yeah, I think that we probably talked that one in the ground.
I think so. We're good.
All right, John, thanks for your question. And our next one's coming in from... Wait, did I already have one from Carlos? Was that the first one that I read? Oh, damn it.
Yep. That's okay. We read one from him already.
Okay, sorry, Carlos. We don't do twosies. This next one is from Ian, and Ian says, "Hi, Jeff and Jason. Based on your podcast, it seems like all you eat is Taco Bell and Whataburger. So my question is, how are you not morbidly obese? I don't intend to lecture. I simply just want your secrets of eating fast food so I can do the same."
I don't have an answer for you.
Epicac. Just syrup of Epicac.
I don't know how I'm not morbidly obese. I have put on. Probably in the last 2 years or so, about 15 pounds.
Yeah.
I need to lose about 20, I think. I'd like to lose about 20, 25 pounds. But, I don't have the secret, man. I'm sorry. I eat like shit.
I don't eat as much shittiness as I used to. I try to make an effort not to go to Taco Bell more than once a week. and Whataburger has started to. We talked about this before about I'm going more to gyms than I am to Whataburger these days.
See, I've been at gyms like 3 times a week now.
Yeah,
for breakfast, chili and eggs. God damn, son.
Wait. Are you talking about like in the morning before you go to work for breakfast?
Yeah.
Okay,
that's what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll tell you guys right now that I only eat twice a day. I eat
me too.
Lunch at like 2 in the afternoon, and then I eat dinner at like 9 o'clock at night. That's it. In between, I walk my dog maybe about a half mile to a mile every day. So I am getting out there and getting exercise. And then we also have this place here that makes really good, like reasonable human-sized hamburgers and gives you fries that aren't cooked in trans fat that I eat at all the goddamn time. I don't know. I try to find that balance between like not Jack in the Box and not hippie gluten-free Whole Foods, but like something like
somewhere in the middle.
Chipotle, you know, where it's a reasonable amount of food, maybe a little bit more than you need, but it's fairly decent ingredients. Or I don't think you can go wrong if you go to like a sandwich place and get a sandwich and then like don't get chips and try to avoid, you know, just like tons of sauce. Like get all the vegetables that they'll put on your sandwich.
Sure.
So it's just like bread and vegetables and stuff. I also eat a lot of Asian food, which I think maybe helps because there's white rice is not as bad for you as like pasta or potato chips or things like that. So yeah, I don't think there's a secret. I don't know.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, Jason's got fucking asshole hell metabolism because
it's catching up to me.
And plus, you know, once you hit what 30, that shit does start catching up to you. I don't know. I don't know how old you are, Ian, but
it'll get you.
Yeah, better to work at it now and just get. That's the other thing, I guess, is that if you I've always seen these things where people will diet, right? Well, they'll be like, I want to lose 20 pounds. And so they'll go on a strict diet. And then when they lose 20 pounds and they go back to eating what they regularly ate,
they just 20 pounds.
Gain it back again. So I think that it's much more useful to say, I like Taco Bell, but I'm only going to eat it once a week.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I'm going to cut soda out of my diet entirely. Or just look at changes that you can make that are changes you can make essentially for the rest of your life. That are going to go towards just making you more healthy, and that'll probably help out. All right. Actually, I just want to talk briefly about Taco Bell. Somebody said that they were in one of the things that Grant and I put up that they always watch the dojo when they're eating.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I hope that you don't like start subconsciously eating at Taco Bell. It turns out that this person was from, or it was either the person who originally commented or somebody else who came in who said, like, I live in Australia. There are no Taco Bells here.
Oh, my God, you poor bastard.
So I actually thought about, like, if you go to the store and buy the cheapest meat and corn tortillas that you can.
And pour the cheapest sauce.
Put some sour cream into a caulk gun.
Oh, maybe we should ship this guy some Taco Bell.
It wouldn't be, well... I was going to say, it wouldn't be good. It wouldn't be fresh by the time he got it.
It'll preserve.
Do they sell powdered beans in the store that you mix up with water to make refried beans?
Probably. I mean, it'll keep.
I don't think that anybody in this world should come to the U.S. and be like, I'm so excited to eat Taco Bell for the first time. Like, I think we may be doing him disservice because they're going to come here and they're going to be like, you know what I want to do?
This is dog shit.
I want to be like Jeff and Jason. I want a Lone Star and some Taco Bell. And they go like,
fuck this entire country.
You guys are fucking crazy people.
I had diarrhea for a week.
Oh, man. All right. The next question comes in from Philip, and Philip says, hey, Jeff and Jason, if you were going to die tomorrow and only get to replay one game one more time, what game would you choose? Thanks for answering the question, Philip.
Oh, it's
a tough one, right?
Everybody knows my answer, right?
Red Dead?
It's Red Dead. Yeah.
It's Red Dead?
It's Red Dead. Or maybe I should pick Skyrim because it's really long.
Yeah. You get a long, yeah.
Yeah. Or something that just never ends.
Can you put, Pac-Man Championship Edition DX? I don't know.
Yeah. No, mine would be Red Dead, I think. Yeah.
Probably Metal Gear.
Skyrim's a close second.
One of the Metal Gears, probably, for me. Dark Souls, maybe. Dark Souls is pretty long. I mean, I can crank through Metal Gear in 12 hours.
Thanks for the bummer question, Philip.
30 or 40. Yeah. If you're trapped on a desert island with only one game, what would it be? You know what would be a good answer to this question?
What's that?
Minecraft. You can only play Minecraft one more time. Oh, you mean forever?
Yeah.
For the next 50 years? But then you'd be forced to play Minecraft forever for the next 50 years.
Yeah, last time I tried to play Minecraft, it didn't do it for me.
Is it worn off?
Yeah, I think so.
You built up a tolerance?
I was just like, okay.
You need to go
done.
Get your Starbound Demerol on to
yeah, exactly.
be able to get those hits of Minecraft way harder these days. All right, this next one is from Joseph, and Joseph says, "Hello, gentlemen. My name is Joe Blunt, or Movie Hunter 1888 on the site. Good to hear your voices again because you guys can make me uncomfortably laugh when I am on the subway to and from college. First question, so Jason, is Nidhogg better than Dive Kick?
Hell yeah.
Second question, seriously, why are there less and less sci-fi shooters coming to consoles these days?
Because people are sick of them and they've got diminishing returns.
I have a different answer for that, but
okay.
It's all modern military or near futuristic military shooters with your unmanned drones and UAVs. God damn it, I want to fight some aliens or alongside other aliens to deal with something much bigger than our petty squabbles on Earth. Keep up the fine work, you magnificent bastards. Rock on, Joseph. The answer to his question is because Mass Effect is over.
Oh.
There was a time when Mass Effect was coming out where, like, Mass Effect was coming out, and you could totally play Mass Effect, and Mass Effect was one of those, it seemed like a big thing. But let's, you know what, I want to look over. Let's see how many sci-fi shooters we've got on the horizon in 2014.
Let's check it out.
It's a good question. I mean, you know, last year we had Lost Planet 3 was technically a sci-fi shooter.
Yeah, and this year we've had, well, no, that was last year as well, Killzone.
Killzone, yep.
Shadowfall.
Final Fantasy...
No,
that's not sci-fi?
Count.
Okay.
Not a sci-fi shooter.
Oh, no, he didn't say shooter. He just said... Did he say sci-fi?
Yeah.
Oh, sci-fi shooter, okay. Earth Defense Force 2025 is a sci-fi shooter. You have a giant robot and you shoot a bunch of bugs.
Okay.
It's supposed to be a terrible game. Titanfall, yeah. I don't even know what that one is.
Let's see.
No. Oh, shit, he's right. Nope.
Yeah.
No.
We're already in May.
Yeah, well, there's a bunch of stuff at the bottom of this list that doesn't have a release date yet. That'll be the stuff that we look for. Borderlands 2 is already out.
Yeah, there's not much.
Nope. Prey 2's never coming out.
Prey 2's on the release list. That's hilarious.
Nope.
Last Guardian's on the release list. That's also...
They never take the shit off of...
That's also funny.
Evolve.
Right.
Evolve is one so far, right?
Not much.
It's Wolfenstein.
So, yeah.
New Halo 5.
Halo, right.
That's 2.
Yeah, what's going on?
It's all zombies now.
Don't even bother with the next page. Who cares?
It's going to be like 2 games.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
So 2.
Yeah. Wow.
I didn't
That's
expect that.
Very good point. What's going on? Why not?
I don't know. I like you know what? There's that what was that indie game we were talking about last week from Hello Games where you fly in the spaceship? No Man's Sky.
Oh, yeah. But does that count as a shooter?
I don't think so. I think there are shooter elements in it, but I don't think it technically does.
Yeah. But yeah, what, Titanfall and Evolve? That's
Titanfall, Evolve, and what was the third one? Halo.
Oh, and Halo.
No Man's Sky. There's probably some stuff on the indie list that may happen.
But not as much as there was in the past.
I mean, I
don't know. You know, probably there needs to be another big sci-fi action film to inspire it, because you often see games following suit.
Yeah, I would believe. Okay, so next year, winter is new Star Wars, right? They moved it to
winter 2015, Christmas 2015.
Okay, yeah. So that's next year. I'd be willing to bet that we may be seeing some of that stuff. Also, you know, there have been various unconfirmed reports about the next Mass Effect game they are making.
We'll probably hear something
after Dragon Age 3 comes out.
I bet we'll hear some sort of murmur of it in the next 6 months or so.
But I think that a lot of times it doesn't seem like there's as much because there isn't a Mass Effect game out there. So anyway. All right, and we have one more question. This one is from Daniel, and Daniel says, "Dear Jeff and Jason, Daniel here. I don't have an account, but I have been a fan since you guys first played Skyrim, and I'm also a Patreon subscriber. Thank you, Daniel. On to my questions though both Jeff and Kevin named BioShock Infinite as their game of the year fairly recently. I have no problem with this myself, but are you aware that the game's reputation has gone significantly downhill? This is nothing new, as it's happened with games like the first Assassin's Creed and Grand Theft Auto 4. However, it took several years for that to happen. BioShock Infinite, on the other hand, has only been out for 10 months. Sure, the game did receive critical acclaim upon release, but lately I've seen more and more remarks that call the game another generic first-person shooter with lackluster gameplay and a pretentious self-important story. Do you have any thoughts on why the consensus for the game seems to have changed? Thanks for answering my questions. Rage on, Daniel.
I think it's just backlash against anything popular.
I think that there's partly that it's, I don't know, I hesitate to call it this, but like the hipster response, right? Of
sure.
Just, you know,
yeah.
I mean, I knew people when Skyrim came out who were just like, this game is shit.
Yeah.
Fuck you, this game is shit. It's stupid and the combat sucks and blah, 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 blah. It's shit. I think that what happens is that when the game comes out, the press tends to immediately focus on the positive, and that then as the game is out longer and longer, you start to see more editorials later on. Like you see very few people when a game first comes out that are there to be like, this is just stupid, man. Like,
you mean when a good game first comes out?
When a good game, first comes out.
Yeah.
But it's also, I mean, you know, I'm not gonna beat around the bush here. There are some people out there who just do not like anything that is popular.
Yeah.
Like, if it's popular, they're just going to be like, and it's, once again, it's kind of hipster syndrome of, because it is popular, they do not like it. And
right.
I wish that wasn't the case, but I've seen it happen.
Oh, yeah.
Where you get people who are just, unless it's an indie game or some kind of underground thing or whatever, they don't care for it.
It got overhyped.
Yeah.
Too, you know?
And I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I went back and played BioShock. I'm the first person to tell you that BioShock has a better combat system than BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite is more stripped down than BioShock OG was, but it's a fun game. I went back and played through the entire thing from start to finish. I think it's got a nifty world and a good story. I think there are a lot of people. I mean, you know, you kind of have a similar opinion about, you know, BioShock Infinite's like reality bending ending.
Yeah.
Is not something that we've never ever seen before. It is derivative from other science fiction works, but that doesn't mean it's not good.
Yeah, and I often do that too, kind of have that hipster response, and that I think, and I did it with BioShock Infinite, where when it ended, I was like, "Oh, that was cool," and everyone's like, "It's groundbreaking, it's so good." And
sure,
spoiler, no, I read The Dark Tower. It's not that groundbreaking.
Sure,
you know, this is not new. It might be the first time we've seen it in a video game, and it was a clever twist, but it wasn't anything just totally mind-blowing. I thought it was really well executed, and it was a great game.
Yeah.
But when people start saying, it's the greatest thing ever, that's when my skeptic hat goes on, and I start thinking, no, you're fucking stupid, and then I start rebelling against the thing itself,
right? Well,
I'm guilty of that.
It's also, I mean, we have talked about this before, but it's worth bringing up in conjunction with the story. There is a clear, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure you've just described the exact same thing, but there is a clear point where somebody wants you to like something, and all of your friends are into this shit, and they're all telling you about it, where I don't even care if it's good anymore. Yeah. I hate it because you guys won't shut the fuck up about pick one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't read Harry Potter before the movies, when the books were out.
Yeah.
Because everybody was just like, oh my God, it's so great, you have to read it. And I'm just like, okay, I'll maybe get around to it at some point. Seems weird to me, it's a kid's book about magic. And they're like, no, you have to, it's so good. And I'm like, okay, dude, I'll get to it. And after you go through that a half dozen times, it doesn't even matter how good it is anymore. It's fuck you. Stop talking to me about this. Stop trying to make me like what you like, because I'll get to it. I'll get to it eventually. I will watch Big Trouble in Little China eventually, Jason.
Yeah, I don't even want to talk about it anymore, because I'm afraid now you'll watch it and just be like, oh, this is stupid.
I've been waiting to be in the right mindset to put it on. Just, you know,
wait a couple of years. I'm just not going to mention it anymore.
But that also, I think that might also be one of the reasons why you start to see people 3 months after a game is out, when you start to see more stories and more editorials and more people talking about it. Seems like I don't ever hear those voices when the game first comes out and everybody's like, hooray, and then a few months later it starts seeping in. And as he said with Assassin's Creed and GTA 4, it took time for that to happen. I think that when those games came out, our reaction time to social media was still longer, that you weren't seeing, like at E3, you weren't seeing them putting tweets up on television
right.
about the latest Smash Brothers thing. Like, we're so immersed in social media these days that it's so easy to make your opinion heard that you start hearing that stuff way faster these days than you used to. But then there's also an argument to be made about if not every game in this world is what we're talking about with Shadow of Mordor, right? Not every game in this world is going to be the best fucking thing ever.
Right.
And just because you like something a lot doesn't mean that there's somebody else who doesn't hate it. So, yeah, I don't know. It also goes to that thing that we've talked about overhyping.
Yeah, precisely.
And you know what? That's all the emails that I have this week. So another week, another group of emails. I'm going to make a real effort, Jason, to get Kevin on next week. Because I feel like you've been here.
Yeah, they're sick of me. They don't want to hear me.
Like our deal. And you know what? I actually wanted to say before we sign off that thanks to everybody last week who said that Allison was a really good addition to the show.
Yeah, we want to have her back on.
Yeah, I definitely want to have her back on. I'd like to just check with the logistics. I mean, we've got so many people who all have jobs and are doing stuff that it's hard to gather us together more than a few times a week. So, but yeah, if you guys want to have your question on the show, send your email to mail@rageselect.com. It's mail@rageselect.com. There is a link below this video. If you're on the website, there's a link below in the YouTube description. Don't send it anywhere but mail@rageselect.com. And, if at all possible, try to keep your questions succinct.
Yes, that's helpful.
And as we have demonstrated on this particular show, we don't need to have just questions about video games. We talk a lot about video games.
We've already answered all of those.
Talk a lot about video games. I had one that was I had to reject this week. That was what two games would you like to see mashed together? I think we've answered that question at least a half dozen times.
Yeah.
But I realized that there are a lot of people who are finding us again for the first time who have not gone back and listened to all of
what are you waiting for?
Podcasts that we've done. Hours of entertainment.
Devour them.
All right. Speaking of that, let's go get some Taco Bell, Jason.
Yes.